Welcome back, boys, to a roster update video. This is going to be my new roster for the next franchise. Don't worry, the Flames franchise isn't going anywhere. I just want to get another one going with an Eastern Conference team. So we're going to be doing that with these rosters. Let me know what team I should use. I will be going over the teams that I'm most interested in as we go throughout the roster. So the very first team is the Anaheim Ducks. Okay, so the Ducks are a very interesting team at the end of the day. They're pretty young, but they're not that good. They had a lot of minus players. Their goaltending, if you notice from my Flames franchise, Dostal is very high rated. We just tanked him back down. Gibson is back up to an 87. He was down to like 84-ish, I think, last time. I also lowered Mace McTavish a bit, raised Frank Vetrano even more. Leo Carlson's up to an 83 as he's been kind of balling out even though he's a minus. I really tried to take heavy consideration into how you're doing defensively and your plus minus and some more advanced stuff. So a lot of guys, also I tried to really incorporate 70s. So basically the way I try to set it up is your 90s are your true superstars. Your high 80s are really good players, but they're still a tier below. Like the mid-high 80s, so like 86, 87, those are like really good players, but they're not quite great yet. So like Vetrano, McTavish, they've been really good this season, but they haven't been great. Still letting up a lot of goals when they're on the ice. And they're not like wicked over point per game. They're just under it. So 87 made sense. Then you got 85, 84, 86, of course, like you're pretty mid, slightly above average. 85 is not average, but a good player. Then 84, 83 is you're a pretty good player. Then you got 82, 81, 80. It's like, okay, you can get them on your third line, fourth line. And then anything below 80 is like, you probably shouldn't be on a team right now, or like you just haven't been playing the best. So with that being said, let's go on to the next team. Actually, I'll sort by defenseman also, so you see. So no really special defenseman. Radko Gudias has actually put up a pretty good defensive game this season, so he's their highest rated defenseman. Then we got the two young guys, Drysdale and Mintyuk. I think that's how you pronounce it. Then Cam Fowler, I lowered quite a bit down to an 82. And then you got Lacombe, Vakanainen, and Lyubushkin in the 70s. Forwards, we've already gone over. Henrique, I think I lowered even more. Zegras, I took down -1 to an 82. The Arizona Coyotes. So this team, they actually got some guys putting up some points and actually very solid plus minuses. These guys are better than Anaheim, I would say. And also, guys, if you have any suggestions on things to change, let me know. And on top of what team I should use. So Clayton Clutch Keller, almost in the 90s club, but he's been piss poor defensively, so I couldn't give it to him, but his offensive stats does get him up to an 89. Bjugstad has been a solid all-around forward for him this year, so he's way up now to an 86. He was like an 80 before. Marcelli, I raised a bit. Lawson Krause, because of how good he's been sniping that puck, I raised him up to an 85 because he's also just been having a very solid year. I also changed some potentials around, like he was like a top 9. Now I got him a low top 6. Logan Cooley, I left. He was an 83 last time. I just left him at an 83. He could honestly, you know what? Do I lower Logan Cooley real quick? There we go. Logan Cooley's now down to an 81. We got Boyd as an 81. I really raised Liam O'Brien. He's like a 76. Raised him up to an 81. Hayton is an 80. Kerfoot, I raised from an 81 to an 83. We also got, and then we just got Jack McBain down here at 79. Defensively, I really changed around. I really bumped up Sean Dursey and Janice Jerome Moser. They have both been excellent defensemen this year. I also raised Moser's potential to low elite instead of medium top 4. I also changed Sean Dursey to high top 4 instead of medium top 4. Then I lowered Valimaki. Stretcher, I kept the same. Brown, I think that's the same, that or I lowered him to that. And then Dumba, I really had to tank down. He's been having a terrible season this year. And then Travis Dermott, I also tanked down from like an 81 down to a 77. So this team is now much more spread out, but they're still about the same. I'll show you guys in a franchise mode, you know, when you like pick your team, it shows the team overall. I'll show you guys all the team overalls at the end. So next team, my favorite team, the Boston Bruins. I try to be as fair as possible, and this is what I came up with for the Bruins. Pasta 95. That's probably, so the highest overall is still obviously McDavid. Pasta 95 is like top 3. I have like 97 is the best, 96 your second best, 95 you're the third best tier. So 95 for Pasta. Marchie's a 92. McAvoy's a 91. I lowered him a little bit because he is a -4. Lindholm I left at an 87. Carlo, he has been absolutely killing it, and I gotta raise him up to an 86. Charlie Coyle, I bumped him up to an 86. Then Zaka, I lowered down. Actually, I think I might have left Coyle as an 86, but Zaka, I did lower down from an 87 down to an 85. JVR's an 84. Forbit, before he got hurt, was playing wicked solid defensive D, so he's an 84. DeBrusk, I lowered quite a bit down to an 83. Poitras, I lowered down to an 82 from an 83. Heinen, I left the same. Grizzlick, I lowered down to an 82. Frederick, I raised up to an 82 because he's actually been quite solid in getting some clutch goals. Morgan Geeky, I left the same at an 81. Shattenkirk, I lowered down to a 79. Lucic stayed the same. Bachfus and Beecher, they might have been lowered. Oh, and I really lowered Mason Lohrei. But this is the big change in Boston. I switched the goalies. Swayman is now the higher one at 92. And Ulmark is still in the 90s, but he's just a straight 90 overall goalie. Next, we got Buffalo. As you can see with Buffalo, really lowered the goalies. Luukkonen's now the highest one at an 81. Levy's down to a 77. Comrie's still down at a 76. Forwards, I did some major changes. Middlestat came up. Thompson went down, I think. Pekara went up. But Tuck I think stayed the same. Skinner I lowered a little. Cousins got lowered. Olsen stayed the same. Jordan Greenway was moved. Zach Benson I raised up to a 79 from a 77. Okposo I lowered down to a 79. And Tyson Joe 77. Defensively, I did some changes. Lowered Dahlin, lowered Power. Jokiharju stayed. I think Johnson stayed the same. Clifton I really lowered. Samuelson stayed the same. And guys, Buffalo is one of the teams I'm thinking about doing. I'm not too sure because they are set on defense with Power and Dahlin, and with a couple centers in Thompson and Middlestat. So these guys are really set, but there's still some changes that could be done. Let me know if you guys like Buffalo as a team. Next, a team we've already used before, the Calgary Flames. These guys had some changes. Huberdeau got lowered. Kadri got raised to an 85. Lindholm stayed the same. This team is honestly pretty similar to what it was. I don't think much more was changed that much around. Defensively, still got Uyghur. Uyghur's an 87, Anderson's an 87, Hannafin's an 85, Tanev's an 84, Shillington's an 82. I brought up to an 80. Goalies in net, then you got Markstrom, who I lowered even more down to 79. Vladar's still 75. That's Calgary. Carolina, I made quite a few moves. I tried raising them up a bit more because I had them a little low on the team overall. Forwards, we got Aho as their only 90. Svetch got lowered to an 88. Jarvis is now an 87. Nekis is an 86. Toivo's an 86. Kotkaniemi, I thought about lowering even more. I don't know though. I don't know if I should lower him more. Let me know about him. Stefan Noesen, I raised up to an 84. He's had a really good defensive game. If we look at his individual stats, his offensive stats still aren't that good, but I bumped up that defensive category. Bunting is an 83. I've thought about lowering him down to like an 82. Drury is down here at a 78. Jordan Stahl I lowered to an 80. Jacob Slavin's a 91 now. I really raised him. Burns an 87. Skij I raised to an 86. Pesci I lowered down to an 84. Orlov stayed the same with Chatfield, Tony D'Angelo, and now of course Mike Riley is on the team. And then, oh yeah, I forgot to check in net. Goalies, Freddie's a 78 and Antti Ranta's a 75. Then in Chicago, Mrazek's an 82. Soderblom is a 78 in net. Forwards, Connor Bedard, I've raised him up to an 86 now. All offensive stats. His defensive stats are still quite low, but he has earned the right to have 3 5-star categories on offense. Taylor Hall, I think I lowered him down to an 84. Dickinson, I think I raised to an 82. Donato Beauvillier, Foligno, Kurashev, and then everyone else, I couldn't put them in the 80s. Everyone else had to be in the 70s. Lucas Reichel, I dropped quite a bit. Ty Radish, I dropped quite a bit. Tyler Johnson, I dropped out of the 80s. Defensively, Seth Jones, I raised up to an 87. Zaitsev is an 82, and then everyone else I had to lower to the 70s. This is one of the worst teams in the league outside of Connor Bedard. Colorado, I did some changes. Rantanen, I lowered just a smidge down to a 93. Nishkinen, I really raised up to an 88. Lehkonen, I also raised up to an 86. Johansson, I left the same. O'Connor, I believe I raised. Colton, I forget what I did. I think I lowered him like an overall or two from my last one. If you have my last roster or just remember from the franchise, so you can tell the differences. Duran's down here, Olofsson, Tuft, Landeskog, of course, down here to just be released. Cale Makar defensively with Devin Tays. I really raised up Devin Tays, but I lowered Samuel Girard. And then in net, I lowered Georgiev Francois. I didn't know what to do with him because he hasn't really played, so I just left him the same at an 84. Columbus now. So Columbus, I really raised up Elvis Merzlikins. I really raised up Zach Werenski. Zach Werenski's had an incredible year this year with the team around him. Severson and Provorov are 85s. Bachfest and Yurchek. Yurchek, I think I might have lowered slightly. Bachfest stayed the same. Offensively, I tanked them. Goudreau's down to an 85. Laine's down to an 84. Maybe should be even lower. Boone Jenner's an 83 still. Roslovic an 83. Kent Johnson I raised to an 82. Danforth I raised up to an 82. And I think that's about it for the major changes. Dallas I really messed with. Robertson I dropped down to a 90. Roop because he's not even point per game right now. Or I don't think he's either not at point per game or he's like right there, but he's still like a minus player. Rupe Hintz I raised up to an 89. Pavelski's an 89. Duchesne I really raised up to an 88. Sagan had a major bounce back in this update. He's now an 88 from like an 85. Marchment is still an 87. Jamie Benn I lowered from like a 92 down to an 87, or maybe like a 90 down to an 87. Wyatt Johnson 85. I don't think I really touched him. Evgeny Dadonov I tanked. Defensively, Heiskanen I lowered just a smidge. Harley I raised though, and Lundqvist I raised, and Ryan Suter I lowered. And then in net we got Jake Ottinger 93, and then Scott Wedgwood back him up at an 82. Detroit, we got James Reimer at an 82, Ville Husso down to a 79. Defensively, Sider I kept at 89. Petrie I kept. Gostisbehere, I moved his ratings around a little, but he's still an 85. Wallman I raised up to an 83 from an 81. Hall I think I might have dropped down to an 81. If not, he's the same. Forward-wise, Larkin is still the same at a 91. DeBrincat I raised to a 90. Lucas Raymond I raised up to an 88. I really made this team better. Comford's an 87. Kane, he's like an 89 or something. I lowered him down to an 85. Perron I left the same. Fabry. Rasmussen I think I raised. Kopp I think I might have dropped a little. And next team, the Edmonton Oilers. Did some changes with them. McDavid, Draisaitl I left the same. Hyman I raised. Nuge I raised. Kane is an 85 because Hyman, I get he's playing with McDavid, so he's getting a lot of like bonus points from him. That's why I didn't put him in the 90s, but he's been playing incredible. Kane I left at an 85. I thought about lowering him down to like an 83, 84, but I didn't do it. McLeod's an 80, Gagne's an 80, Jan Mark's an 80. Then I lowered Warren Fogle, I lowered Connor Brown, I lowered, and yeah, so not a lot of high 80s players on this team. You just got the 4, and then it's really a drop off. Defenseman, Evan Bouchard I left at an 85. Darnell Nurse I bumped up to an 84. CC I bumped up to an 83. And Ekholm I bumped up to an 82. And then I lowered Kulak down to a 78. Goalies, Skinner I didn't touch, 77, and Jack Campbell's a 75. Florida, I raised Bobrovsky up to an 89. Stolers I raised up to an 83. Ekblad still an 88, Montour's an 88, Forsling is an 87, I think I raised him to that. Mikola is an 84, Kulikov an 83, and Ekman and Larson I raised up to an 82. Pretty much everyone was just getting raised on this defense. Forward or untouched. Forward core really raised up Sam Reinhart because he's having a career year. Matthew Tkachuk, I think I lowered him down to that 91. Rodriguez is up to an 88. Bennett, I think I lowered from like an 84, 85. Next team is the LA Kings. I really raised these guys. Kopitar's a 91. Kempe, I raised from like an 85 to a 91. Byfield's up to an 88. Moore's an 88. Kevin Fiala's an 88. Philippe Deneau's an 85. Dubois has been kind of sucking, so I lowered him down to an 83. Kaliev, I wasn't quite sure what to do, so I just left him at that 83. Trevor Lewis, I raised up to an 81. Defensively, I raised Doughty and Anderson and Matt Roy, left Gavrikov, Bjornot, and Brant Clark. And then in net, I really raised Cam Talbot up to a 91 and Copley's an 81. Minnesota Wild, Gustafsson and Fleury are 80 and 79. Forwards, I lowered Kaprizov down to a 90, but I raised Zuccarello up to a 90. In fact, I'm going to change Zuccarello's potential to low elite right now because he doesn't deserve to just drop right away, as he is balling out. Eriksson Ek, still an 87. Boldy's an 86. Rossi's an 85. I think I lowered Hartman. Maroon, I raised slightly. Let's see, what else did I do? Defensively, Spurgeon, Brodians are 87s. Addison's an 83. Middleton's an 81. Merrill's an 80. Golgoski's an 80. Faber, 79. I didn't change too much except for lower a couple guys on Minnesota. Montreal did quite a few changes. Jake Allen's down to a 79. Martin Bowes up to an 86. Forward core, we got Caulfield, I lowered down to an 87. Suzuki, I lowered to an 86. Monahan, I lowered to an 84. Dak, I left the same. Evans, I raised. Newhook, I left the same. Lowered Gallagher, Dvorak, still an 80. Stokowski, I didn't touch, left him at 79. Tank Tanner Pearson and tank Josh Anderson. Defensively, Matheson, I changed his ratings around, made him a bit more offensive and lowered his defensive, but he only went down 1 overall. Gooley and Savard are still 83s. Next team, the Nashville Predators. I lowered Roman Josi, left McDonough and Fabro the same. Barry, I lowered a bit more. Carrier, I left the same. In net, UC Saros, I lowered him quite a bit down to an 86. Forwards, those, I raised Philip Forsberg a ton because he's been incredible this season. Nyquist, I raised. O'Reilly, I raised. O'Reilly, I left the same. Novak, I raised, I believe. Sherwood, I raised. Trennan, I raised. Sissons, I raised. Evangelista, I raised. Made them a lot of low 80 guys, as this team still isn't that good, but their players are playing low 80s. Tomasino, I lowered. Let's see who else. Fagimo, I think I might have lowered Fagimo. Juuso Parssinen, I did lower him. And I also, I believe, raised Cole Smith up to an 81. Devils, Jack Hughes, I raised up to a 96. Bratt is still a 90. Hichet's still an 89. Toffoli's an 88. I lowered Timo Meier down to an 86. Just defensive. He hasn't been as good. Eric Howell, I left the same. Let's see, who else did I really change around on this team? Defensively, I raised Luke Hughes and I lowered Dougie Hamilton. I think I lowered Sigenhaller. And then in net, Schmidt and Vanacek are both 81s. Islanders, Sorokin is a 90. Varlamov is up to an 88. Defensively, Dobson's a 91. Pellick's an 88. Pulock, I tanked. Mayfield, I tanked. But of course, made up with the Dobson 91. He has been tearing it up this year. Forward core, Barzell's still a 90. Nelson's an 86, Engvall's an 84. I lowered Palmieri down to an 82. Cizikas, I think I might have lowered to an 80. Lee, I lowered to an 80 from my last roster. Pajot is now in the 70s, and that's everyone. Next on the Rangers, I did quite a few moves. I raised Panarin up to a 95. I raised Zibanejad up to a 90. Kreider's an 89. Trocheck, I really raised up to an 88. Lafreniere, I raised up to an 84. I lowered Blake Wheeler and I lowered Capo Caco down to an 80. Defensively, we got Adam Fox now. I lowered him to a 92. Jacob Trouba is an 86. Keandre Miller is an 86. So I raised Trouba, left Miller the same. Lindgren, I think I might have raised him slightly. Maybe I didn't. And then in net, we of course still have Igor Shesterkin and Jonathan Quick. Honestly, let me raise Jonathan Quick real quick because he's been balling out. Let me raise him. And now I've raised Jonathan Quick up to an 86. Ottawa, I tanked their goalies, Korpisalo 78, Forsberg 77. Defensively, Chabot's an 88. Chychrun, I thought about lowering, but I ended up just leaving him. Sanderson, I left. Brandstrom, this whole defense I pretty much left. Forward core though, Stützle I made better. Giroux I made better. Tarasenko I made better. Tkachuk I made worse. I made Joseph better. I think I made Greg better. Josh Norris, I believe I made worse. Yeah. Next team, oh yeah, I made Dominic Kubalik suck. Philly, I didn't know what to do because they're a playoff team, but man, their stats and their numbers just are not very favorable. So Konechny's a 90, Couturier's an 80. Like, I didn't really touch this team because I didn't really know what to touch. I made Forrester a bit better. I made Bobby Brink and Frost a bit better. Defensively, Sanheim still an 88, Ristolainen, Walker, York still your low 80s, and then Net Carhart still a 91. Next, Pittsburgh. I did quite a few changes with these guys. Jerry's up to an 87. Defensively, Carlson I made better at an 89. Left Letang the same, Graves is the same, Peterson still an 83, and Josephson is an 82. Then forwards, Crosby's I made a 93. I raised Gensel up to an 89. I lowered Malkin down to an 88. Rust is still an 87. Then you got Smith, Raquel, Eller, Nieto all in your low 80s. And then I lowered some guys, Jeff Carter to 78. San Jose did quite a few moves with these guys. Raised Michael Granlund. Kept Thomas Hertl and Couture the same. Barbanov, Eklund, Zetterlund are the only 80s, and I lowered everyone else. Kunin's down there, LeBank's down here, Hoffman's down here, Zadina's down here. All these guys who were in the 80s now all in the mid to high 70s. Defensively, Benning's the only 80. Lowered Vlasic down, lowered Ruda down, made this team a lot worse. Micah Ferraro I lowered. Goalies, you got Blackwood and Kakinen. Seattle, I made a lot worse. DeCord and Grubauer, 78-77. Defensively, Vince Dunn, Oleksiak, Borgen. Then everyone else I've lowered down in the 70s. Adam Larson, I tanked. I don't think I did much other on the defensive side. Forwards, Bjorkstrand, I left as an 87. I raised Tolvainen. Burakovsky, I left the same. I lowered Jared McCann. I lowered Jaden Schwartz. I lowered Jordan Eberle. I lowered Tanev out of the 80s. Bellemare, I think I might have raised them to that. Yanni Gord, I dropped down into the 70s. Yamamoto, I tanked down to 77. St. Louis now. St. Louis, you got Robert Thomas still at 91. Buchnevich, I left at an 88. Buchnevich, I left at an 88. Kyra's an 85. Kevin Hayes is an 85. Braden Shen is an 82. I think all those guys were really much untouched. Saad, I raised. Kapanen, I lowered. Verana, I tanked down from like an 84. Blaze, I lowered. Defensively, I lowered Colton Parayko. I raised Justin Falk. I raised Torrey Krug to an 83. I think I left Nick Leddy the same. Everyone else the same. In net, I made Jordan Binnington a bit better, up to an 88. Tampa Bay, I lowered Vasilevsky down to a 90 because he's had a rough return by Duguay. He's coming back from injury, so it's going to be a little rough. Johansson, I lowered down to a 79. Defenseman, Hedman, I left at a 93. I didn't know what to do with Sergachev. I almost feel like I should lower him a little more to an 86. Let me know. This is also a team I was thinking about could be a fun franchise team, but then I was like, maybe it'll be too similar to Calgary, kinda. But maybe not. I don't know. Let me know if you guys think Tampa Bay is a good team to use. Ethan Cernak, I left the same. Perbix, I think I lowered. Nick Perbix, maybe I didn't. Forward-wise, I did quite a few changes. Kucherov, I raised to a 95. Point, I lowered to a 91. Stamkos, I lowered to an 88. Hagel, I raised to an 88. Sorelli, I left the same. And then I tanked a lot of guys. Janot's now down here. Logan Brown, I think he was already here. Nick Paul, I lowered, I'm pretty sure. Tanner Janot, I lowered. There's a lot of 70s. There's like no depth on this team. It's like they're a couple of stars and that's it. Then we got Toronto, kind of similar to Tampa Bay. The Islanders a 94. I made him the best player on the team. Marner's a 92, along with Matthews. Tavares, I left at an 89. I did lower Matthews today. He's like a 93 or 94 below. Before Cal Yarncroc, I raised up to an 84. Bertuzzi and Domi, I left at 83s. And then it's a bunch of guys in the 70s. And then you see Ryan Reeves, I tanked down to a 75. Camp was like an 82 or 83. I lowered him down to a 78. Gregor, I think, was also in the 80s. Lowered him down to a 78. Defensively, Riley, I left the same. I raised TJ Brody, but I lowered Giordano, McCabe, Timmins, I think I either left the same or might have even raised him to that. Liljegren, I made an 82. And then Justin Wool, I raised up big time to an 88. Samsonov down there at a 78 though. Next team, Vancouver. JT Miller, I made even better now, a 95. Pedersen's a 93. Besser, still didn't want to make him a 90. Mikheyev, I think I raised him to an 85. Kuzmenko, I lowered to an 85. Lafferty's an 84. Garland is an 82. Let's see, anything else? Defensively, Quinn Hughes I didn't touch, but he's already best defenseman in the NHL. Roenick, I really raised him. He's been killing it this year. He's a 93. Tyler Myers, I also raised up to an 87. South Sea, I raised up to an 84. I just raised everyone on this defense. They're a really good team. Vegas, Shea Theodore. This team was pretty much untouched except for a few things. Hutton, I raised. Martinez, I left the same. Korshek, I think I left the same. Haig, though, did get lowered. Goaltending, I really raised their goalies. Hill's a 91 and Thompson's an 88 now. Forwards wise, though, I didn't really touch much on the forward core. I lowered Mark Stone. Amadeo, I either raised this time or I raised last time in the update. Chandler Stevenson, I really lowered him. He came back down to earth a lot. Carrier, I dropped off. Barrett Howden, I dropped off. Cotter, I dropped off. And yeah, next team, the Washington Capitals. I didn't know what to do. Even though they're a playoff team, I did make them worse than before. Ovi, I had to take him out of the 90s. I couldn't justify leaving him in the 90s. Dylan Strom's an 86. Pacioretty's untouched. Kuznetsov, I lowered to an 85. I did raise Protis up to an 83 and gave him low top 6 potential. Mantha's down to an 82 now. Anyone else? McMichael, I think I might have lowered. Oshie's down here at a 76. Defensively, I kept John Carlson at a 90. I almost feel like I should lower him too. Let me know if this is a good team. Also, let me know if this would be a good franchise team, the Washington Capitals. You also got Jensen, TVR, Rasmussen, Dean. In net, you got 84 Charlie Lindgren and 79 Darcy Kemper. Last but not least, Winnipeg. We raised Connor Hellebuck up to a 90. Defensively, Morrissey's up to a 91. They're gonna see this is the most like mid team in the league with how my ratings are. DeMello 84, Pionk's down to an 84. He was higher. Dylan, I might have raised to an 83. Sandberg's up to an 82. Forward core, Connor Scheifele is up to an 89. I raised him. Ehlers, I kept the same. Nino's here at an 84, gave him his extension. Velarde's an 84. Cole Perfetti, raised him to an 84. Namastankinov, I raised him to an 84. Lowry's an 80. A lot of 84s. Iaflalo, Appleton, Barron, Pari. Okay, so that is all the teams. Other teams, let me see if there's any team I didn't mention. Buffalo, I mentioned wanting to use. Like, Montreal could be an option. I'm just not the biggest Canadiens fan, but they could be a fun option to use. They got quite a few holes to fill. Another team we could use is the New York Islanders, I've considered. You know, you got Barzell, you got Horvat, you got quite a few long-term deals you're going to have to navigate and try and figure out. But this team could definitely go through quite a good retool. Let me sort by all skaters. They also got Noah Dobson. Like, they got a couple guys to build around, but a lot of holes. Another team I was thinking about is honestly Philly. Even though they're a playoff team, this team is still rebuilding. They still got a lot of work to do. So Philly could be a fun team to use. Plus Carter Hart in net. Pittsburgh, I considered Pittsburgh, but I don't know how much interest I have in doing a Pittsburgh Penguins franchise. But let me know if there's a lot of support for Pittsburgh. And then Tampa, I already mentioned, I think they could be a really fun team. You know, try and get them that third cup quickly to be a dynasty. And if you don't get it quickly, you gotta start selling off pieces real quick, like a Hedman, like a Stamkos. Toronto, nah. Washington, also another team that could be used. These guys are going pure rebuild though. Like, that's their future, is just rebuild outside of Carlson and Ovi. So guys, now I will quickly show you the team ratings in franchise mode, like in the division alignment, so you can see how it all lines up. Let me know what needs to be adjusted. Let me know what you like. Let me know also what team to use. And then I will also tell you guys, I'm going to post it on while recording, so then you'll be able to also download. Let's just quickly run through and get a franchise set up so you guys can see all the ratings, team. So this is where you can see the team ratings And as you can see, Anaheim's an 85, Calgary's an 87, Edmonton's an 85, LA's up there at a 91, San Jose's a 77, Seattle's an 84, Vancouver's a 94, Vegas is a 92, Winnipeg's up at a 91, St. Louis and Nashville are 88, Minnesota's an 87, Dallas is up at a 94, Colorado's a 90, Chicago I have as an 82, Arizona, I feel like they're too high at an 89, but like some of their players, like I just really like how they're playing right now. They're quite hot. I know they lost last night as of this recording, but still. Boston's up at a 93, Buffalo's an 88, Detroit's a 91, Florida I feel like should be a little higher, I don't know though. Montreal's an 86, Ottawa's an 87, Tampa's an 87, they're a little low right now. Toronto's a 90, Washington's down at an 83 and they're a playoff team. I mean, I just don't know what to do with them. Pittsburgh's an 88, Philly's an 87, and they're a playoff team. Like, I feel like they should be higher, but I don't know what to do with them. New York Rangers up at a 94. The Islanders are an 89. The Devils are a 90. Columbus is an 87. I feel like Carolina's kind of low. Let me know what I should do with that. So, boys, let me quickly roster share this roster, and then I will call it there. Let me know what team I should use, and I hope you guys enjoy the roster if you download it for yourselves. So boys, here it is, December Real NHL overhauled NHL ratings and added prospects as of December 9th as seen on Borre Grub YouTube. So now you can download this roster whenever you want, and I will see you in the next one.